man who writes who writes all about business in the MMQB in Sports Illustrated, the executive director of the Morad Center at Villanova, and his Business of Sports podcast is must-listen-to material. Andrew Brandt back here in person. Good to see you, Andrew. How's
Always great to be with you and come out to L.A., see my son. Always enjoy coming in here.
Terrific. Good to have you here. So we just had a conversation, and many people across the talk landscape today catching wind of what Aaron Donald told our friend Brandon Marshall on his I Am Athlete podcast, that he's at peace with things, but it's not about money. However, there needs to be a business aspect that's comfortable for him and his family. How do you think Les Snead handles that information, Andrew?
You know what I always say when someone says it's not about money, translation, it's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
You just talked about two contradictory parts of that statement on the podcast.
Yes.
It's not about money, but I got to take care of my family. I got to my business.
Correct. He said that all in one soundbite as well.
It's interesting because nothing's been done there. So that raises an eyebrow for me because this is a contract that has needed adjustment. And the Rams have done that with Matthew Stafford, with a couple others. And they're always sort of borrowing from the future on the cap. Mm-hmm. So they could actually reduce his cap by raising a bonus and spreading it out as you do with cap proration over future years. So they haven't done it yet. That's a question for me. Why haven't they done it yet? Do I think they will? It seems like it. It seems like they've taken care of, as you mentioned, Matthew Stafford. They brought in Allen Robinson. They brought in Bobby Wagner. Why not take care of Donald? The fact it hasn't been done, you could always chalk it up to we're getting to it. We've been doing the other things. But that sort of makes me wonder, why hasn't that been done? Has that been resistance from the Donald camp? We want to wait. We may retire. We don't know what's going on. Or is the team hesitant for some reason to get it done? Because this doesn't seem like it's a problem. If they wanted to get it done, you just add money, you figure it out, you get the new market, whatever the market has changed since Aaron did his contract a few years ago. I don't understand it.
Well, could it be that they're working on Cup first, or how does that work? I mean, you can walk and chew gum, right? You can renegotiate two contracts at the same time. I mean, what is the mechanism? And also, I know I'm not supposed to ask multiple questions in one bite at the apple here, but I will. Does June 1st have anything to do with it?
Well, June 1st is, again, to clarify for your listeners, that's when you can release a player and have the cap impact shifted to 2023.
Correct.
You're pushing out the pain, which the Rams do with a lot of things they do. They sort of credit card spend, push it out in the future, worry about that later. Yeah, it could be. Could be maybe they've got someone they're going to release. It doesn't come to mind who they would push off the roster that's making a lot of money right now, but that could come into it. And I think you bring up the other thing, which we have to address. Kupp is not someone that seems like he's going to make a deal. He's going to show rumbles of discontent. He's going to hold out, stay away. But the fact is, the biggest story of this offseason to me, Rich, is not Russell Wilson and the quarterbacks. It is the transformation of the wide receiver market. Absolute transformation. Where the top market was 18 to 20 million a year, now it's 23 to 25 a year. For Devontae, for Tyreek Hill, for A.J. Brown, all these receivers changing the marketplace. You go back to Kupp, who is just way under that number. So here's another issue for the Rams to have to deal with. And this is not just because they're Super Bowl champion. That hangover is always there. But they've got to address Kupp. If he makes a deal of it, great. But even if they don't, you can't have a guy making $10 million under market to players like Hill and Adams and Brown. So they've got to get that done, and they've got to get Donald figured out. But this one I find more curious because we know the market. We know they can do this. They know they've done it with other players. And he's talking about retirement, but he's saying it's business. Let's watch and see what happens.
Andrew Brandt here on the Rich Eisen Show. And while we're wondering potentially why Donald is hitting June, wondering about maybe a contract more commensurate with his abilities, that isn't it amazing that he's outperformed, arguably a 6-year, $135 million
22
deal.
a year, yeah.
I mean, so why hasn't something been done yet with Kyler Murray in Arizona? Like, what would those tea leaves be? Because we had Steve Keim on, and he's like, we're not trading him, and we'll take care of him. We'll get to it. We're going to get to it. But here we are, and what's the wait about there?
You remember the start of the offseason, there was a missive from his agent, Eric Burkhart,
I have it on my desk because I've never seen anything so.
There it is.
So yeah, here it is.
And it was all over.
And it's a stationery is the reason why I have it here. It's very, very favorite.
And the font and everything else. And I said on Twitter that time, the translation is, "Show me the money." Mm-hmm. And I would have guessed, if putting myself in my old agent shoes, my reaction doing something like that would be, we approached them. They said, "We'll wait." They said, "No, we're not doing anything." Maybe they said not this year. Maybe they said not right now. We'll get into the summer. Whatever the reason. But here's the deal, Rich. After 3 years, according to the CBA, you can extend players. You have to wait. So Kyler Murray played 3 years as a starter. Now he was the number one pick. So he's making $6, $7, $8 million a year. But that's $6, $7, $8 million a year, while counterparts at his level, who are veterans, are making 25 to 30 a year. So the Cardinals have benefited immensely, got an extraordinary value for 3 years. It's the best value in football. Having a rookie contract quarterback, the best value in football by far. The Cowboys got it with Dak Prescott. The Seahawks got it with Russell Wilson. The Chargers are getting with Justin Herbert. But after that 3 years, you got to make a decision. And the Browns last year said to Baker Mayfield, "No, we're going to wait." And it was fortuitous for them. I don't know what's going on with Lamar Jackson. And the Cardinals are saying, I think they're saying, we're going to wait. We've got this year. We've got option year next year, big number, but still an option year. And we got potential franchise tags.
Do you think they're really going to roll the dice that Murray will not hold out or make a big stink of it? That they're like, there's no way he's going to let Colt McCoy take the first snap of the season? You really think that they're going to run that risk?
The other part of the CBA is increased sanctions and penalties for any kind of holdout. So I don't think he's going to be as compliant as, say, Baker Mayfield was with the Browns a year ago. He may make a stink. But again, I look at this kind of like the way of Donald. Why hasn't it been done?
That's right.
What are we doing there? And if Keim says he's not going anywhere, of course he's not going anywhere. They're not going to trade him. But are they going to make him play on that number? I mean, I think that's the question. Are the Ravens going to make Lamar Jackson play on that number, or is there something more going on without an agent and he hasn't wanted to do a deal? Because, again, here's the problem with paying quarterbacks. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground right now. There's a rookie level, and then there's 30, 35 million a year, right? So what do you do? And I say this as a former executive. If you have someone that's clearly not in the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson category, and you don't have a rookie deal, what do you do? Like Ryan Tannehill is going to be a cap casualty in a year, no question, because they paid him that level. There was no middle, right? So you're either paying a guy $8 million a year on a rookie deal, or you're paying him $30 million a year, and there doesn't seem to be anyone sort of taking the middle tier. And frankly, if I'm an agent, I don't take the middle tier either.
Andrew Brandt here on the Rich Eisen Show, Business of Sports podcast, and so much more. So what's your best guess of what's happening with the Browns and Mayfield currently, right now?
With Mayfield or all the other stuff going on?
Well, you can't parse them out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all together.
Yeah.
Because the sense is that until the league finds out how many games they're assuming Watson's going to miss, they're not going to cough up Mayfield under the idea that Mayfield could be forced to play and have no better choice than to be a fill-in for as long as Watson is suspended, only to cede the ground back to Watson. I don't know how Mayfield is going to handle that. I think it should be something he says no to, personally, or the market, they're waiting for someone to get hurt in training camp. Like, this thing is going to go into August as we're sitting here right now, heading into June.
Yeah, Andrew. Rich, I haven't talked to you since the Watson deal, and I just have to say it again. It still stuns me to this day. I have followed this business for 30 years. I have been looking for that white whale that's going to get that fully guaranteed 5-6 year deal. Never thought it would be this player. In part due to his own misconduct. Think about that. In part due to his own misconduct, he created the perfect storm, has a 5-year fully guaranteed, $230 million contract, 46 a year, more than any other quarterback, and protection against suspension. So suspension only forfeits salary, not bonus. So he's making $46 million this year. 45 of it is bonus, not subject to suspension. $1 million of it is salary, subject to suspension. So say he's suspended 8 games, half the season. Out of $46 million, he'll lose $500,000. He'll make $45.5. The Browns sold their soul for this player. Now, all the PR has been terrible. You know what they want to say? What they want to say is, hey, never in a million years will a quarterback like this be on the market. We did it. We went and got him. PR is terrible, sure. But by September, when he's throwing touchdowns, or next September, it'll go away. I know that's what they're thinking. But they did something for this player that no one's ever done for any player, contractually. And it's just amazing it happened with this guy. Okay, Baker is due $18 million. This is going to have to be an NBA trade. In other words, NBA trades are about cap and expiring and money and shifting. So they're going to have to move him with another asset or pay some of the $18 million. In other words, you do a bonus, say, for $10 million, and then you move him for an $8 million salary. That's the only way I see this happening. If there are any suitors. I mean, maybe Carolina, maybe Seattle. I don't know if they're even interested. So what do you do if they're not? Then you do a Deshaun Watson Houston situation. You say, Baker, you just do your thing and we'll pay you. Shut up and don't play. Shut up and go away. He's not going to be the guy when Watson's suspended. That's Jacoby Brissett. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a no-win situation for Baker or the Browns, but he'll get paid. Now, he'll get that $18 million. It's just a question of how and where.
Andrew Brandt here on the Rich Eisen Show, and one of the many items that you're discussing at school in Villanova and on your pod and in your columns is the name, image, and likeness. Yeah. I don't even know what the phrase to use.
Wild West.
that just burst into the most ugly spectacle around, with Nick Saban essentially saying Texas A&M bought their top recruiting class, and Jimbo Fisher firing back, and the commissioner of the SEC in Greg Sankey saying, everybody hush up.
Yeah.
Let's go back to our corners and figure out, our own thing, or what we can do, what can be done. Like, what do you think can be done in order to rein in whatever needs to be reined in, and then make it uniform enough that we don't see this public spectacle anymore.
I was in this chair a year ago. The Supreme Court just happened.
Yes.
Where they scolded the NCAA for any kind of restrictions. Then, after 2 years of planning to regulate NIL, name, image, likeness, the NCAA threw up their hands. They threw up their hands. They said, we're scared of antitrust. We're scared of lawyers. We're out. And it's like, whoa. They just left it for the schools, the conferences, the state laws to enforce, and no one's enforcing it. So it's become truly the Wild West, where these collectives have formed. Collectives are donor-based pools of money to basically get players on campus, whether from high school or from transfer portal. That is exactly what NIL was not supposed to be, inducement money to get them on campus. It's become that. It's become programs like Horns for Heart in Texas, where every scholarship offensive lineman gets $50,000. To do what? Who knows? Show up for birthday parties. Who knows? And it's become this weapon to recruit. Now, Saban calls them out, right? Everyone in the murmuring about the Texas A&M recruiting class, he called it out. The murmuring about Jackson State getting that big-time recruit, he called it out. The murmuring about the Miami guy that basically owns Miami Athletics, called him out. So they all clapped back, and Jimbo Fisher clapped back hard, as you saw. But then I saw who he was speaking to, Saban. And I said, oh.
The people who could put money in the Alabama collective?
Birmingham business leaders who he was basically saying, hey, guys, step it up.
That was your
my take,
interpretation.
Because we just lost. Now, he was the number 2 recruiting class. But he's like, hey, we can't lose out to Texas A&M. We got to get our guys. I don't know how you regulate it. Everyone's waiting for Congress. Congress, as you know, is a bit busy right now. There are a lot of bills floating around Congress. State laws, they're not doing anything. Alabama had a law. They repealed it because they were behind other states that didn't have laws. Who's going to really enforce this? Gene Smith, the AD at Ohio State, has said, we are going to come after someone. So maybe some school that didn't dot their I's and cross their T's and they can make an example of them. But I don't know. I don't know how you
Here's
do
the
that.
answer, Andrew, and what I've said. I said it after the Super League got formed and lasted less than the amount of time. Belichick was the head coach of the Jets, back in last summer as well with the Super League in Europe. Is that the only space in American sports that could have the same thing and the same idea is college athletics, college football. Greg Sankey can get in a room and call up Gene Smith or obviously Gene Smith isn't the commissioner of the Big Ten, but he is the athletic director of the Ohio State, and just get together with everybody and say, let's get 40, 50 schools together. These are our rules. And you do it just as the NCAA, Mark Emmert, who's just an empty suit anyway, he's leaving.
Right.
Do it now. The NCAA, under the college football playoff umbrella, because they get to decide their own college football playoff. That's the money. That's the big money pot. Do that. Come up with your own name, image, and likeness rules, and enforce them yourselves, and see if and see who sues then see who sues, and see what the Supreme Court has to say about it. That's literally and then you play a couple seasons under it as it moves up the court system, and the rest of the country loves it. And who's gonna repeal that? Football care. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone already loves it. What are you going to repeal it? Well, so that to me is the way this thing is heading. I think
the NCAA has value for 90% of college athletics. I'm at Villanova. We have 24 sports.
Yes.
One makes money.
Hoops,
of course. Right. But that's college sports. The 90% of college sports needs kind of the basic NCAA regulation. For big-time college football and big-time college basketball, I agree with you. There's going to be something else.
Okay.
Not NCAA, something else that monitors, regulates. But the thing I mentioned, and maybe people are listening worry about this, but there's going to be a professional aspect to it. And the whole idea behind Emmert and the MCA has been to separate professional and amateur sports, but I don't know how you can do that anymore.
No, you're going to have to unionize and everything.
Yes, exactly. So now we're talking about salary caps. And now, Saban can't spend what he's spending. It used to be facilities that would attract these kids, right? Now it's NIL. What's your NIL? I'm hearing all these stories where kids are saying they're going to go to transfer portal unless they can get $250, unless they can get $500,000, and if not, transfer portal. So the kids, and Saban said this on that speech. He said it's like free agency without a cap. It's like free agency without a cap in college sports. So we're at a true inflection point in college sports, and your idea is a good one. It's going to professionalize. There's going to be unionization. There's going to be a salary cap. There's going to be employee status where players are going to have to worry about taxes. They're going to have to worry about insurance. All those kind of things will come into play. Somebody's going to have to get a hold of this.
I think that's the way this is headed. I mean, it's already gone. I mean, unless you're going to continue to have this construct of amateurism with all this money flowing in a way, and so Saban won't be around, I don't think, when this thing goes down. But you're already seeing it's not the same world anymore.
And these donors, if I'm a coach, I'm like worried to death because some donor bought this kid for say $250,000, and the kid doesn't, the kid is benched or the kid doesn't get the play time he wants.
Right.
He's just going to go to the donor.
And the donor will go to the coach, and the coach will tell the donor, too bad, Buddy Garrity. I'm still the coach around here, and we'll see if a coach gets fired over this sort of thing. That's maybe the way this thing can head. I don't know.
The money always talks. We'll see.
What else do I need to know? What's going on in your world before I send you back into your Los Angeles Tuesday, sir?
Well, I've also been talking quickly about Kaepernick. The tryout, I think, was great. Mick Lombardi was with the 49ers years ago, and now he's with the Raiders. Makes some sense. But don't get excited about a Kaepernick signing. He's been out, as everyone knows, 5 years. And I just don't think teams want to deal with drama, potentially, around backup players. I just don't think he's going to be on a ready list, but don't get excited about that. And I don't think my friends and family in D.C. should not get too excited about Daniel Snyder being ousted, counting the votes, as Washington owner because he's got allies, he's got friends, all these things that go around the team have been around for years, and he has survived.
Are they going to move him deep into Virginia?
Sounds like they've got
every single Washington fan that I know of is just like, I'm not going down there.
No. And I'm from there.
I
know where that is. It's like, whoa. And people are saying the Ravens Stadium is closer than that to the downtown D.C. But money talks. If he's got the deal out there, and now he's got Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. bidding for his loyalties, maybe he makes the deal down there, which would add to the negativity around him.
Good to see you, Andrew Brandt. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for letting me know that you're around. Everybody check out this man's podcast, read his material, Sports Illustrated. Thanks for coming here.
Let's do this pleasure, again. Rich.
That's Andrew Brandt right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.